Hello, my name is Mary, and this is the fourth presentation for my thesis, which is utilizing multicultural clothing design to preserve pineapple fabric. First off, I will start with the design development and prototype. I focus on the first design for now, which is an origami and modular style. As you can see in the picture, there's a repeating triangular shape in all the garment pieces. Because of the current pandemic, I'm not sure that I can get enough pineapple fabric to create 4 designs that I initially wanted to create from the midterms. But I'm estimating that I can do 3 designs at best. I measured the size of the garment with the fabric that I had and was left with a generous amount of space for my other designs. So this is what I worked on for my product testing, which I will show later on. Because of that, I decided for my last design to have a combination of pineapple fabric with other types of fabric such as cotton or linen. Since the pineapple fabric is transparent, I thought that the darker colors, like black in the picture shown here in the middle, I thought it would give a more interesting look to the piece as a whole. Because of the contrast and how the pineapple fabric pops out against the dark background. I think that black can be quite dull, so having another color like maybe dark brown for a monochromatic look, or navy blue will give it a more interesting flair. So this is what I've decided for the third design. Second, the material and manufacturing prototype and process selection. For this, I chose the apparel manufacturing method, which first starts off with the production planning. This includes like sourcing raw materials, like the fabric itself, the sewing threads, packing materials, etc. When it comes to pineapple fabric, it's most often left natural without any dyes. The dyeing process starts before the fabric is woven. They tend to dye the individual strands that were extracted from the leaves, and then weave them into one large fabric. So it's already been prepared. Then we have the cutting process where they lay out the fabric, and the cutting machine cuts the garment shapes or patterns from the layer. The end product very much depends on the good cutting quality, so this is a very important step in the process. And my thesis focuses on this step the most, with the use of all the areas of the space of the fabric, which can be multifunctional, in a jigsaw piece style, origami, and more. And then after the garments have been cut, then comes the sewing and the stitching next. The finished product focuses on the design for recyclability and detachability, so that if some parts are torn or worn down, it can be easily replaced and or recycled. So that one is where I focus for my last design. The process of CNC fabric cutting machine is one I considered if the product is being mass produced. It uses computer control to cut several layers of fabric with a rotary blade and laser for precision. The overall speed of cutting the fabric is around 5 to 12 meters per minute. This is often what apparel manufacturers use to cut their own fabrics of the same garment pieces in a short amount of time. So this is one of the manufacturing processes that I have decided to use. Next is the product testing for the first design. I apologize for losing the audio for these videos, but I will explain what's going on. So what's happening here is that I asked 2 people who are within the age group of my target users to try on the vest. What they commented on was they thought the design wasn't too complicated and that it gave off a very minimalistic look, which was ultimately what I was going for. However, when I asked them to turn it upside down, which is one of the features of this garment, was that they found it a bit of a struggle to wear it again and adjust it, and I had to kind of instruct them on how to wear the fabric properly. Wear the garment properly. The second person, she had a similar experience with wearing the garment. She commented that she thought the sleeves were a bit too wide, but it wasn't much of a bother. And when I told her to turn it around, I had to explain that the ends were the collar part of the garment. So that's it, the product testing that I did for the first one. Next is the fabric, is testing the fabric itself. I noticed that it frayed very much at the seams in the first picture right here, because pineapple fabric is very delicate where it isn't connected at the ends, and that when you twist the fabric it can wrinkle very easily like linen. The texture of the surface, the pineapple fabric's texture was tough, so I didn't notice any threads poking out in the middle of the fabric, so that's a very good sign. So this is the product testing summary. The objective was to test the overall concept to the targeted market and also the properties of pineapple fabric. For the concept, like I mentioned, it was interesting to the targeted users, but a bit confusing and needed to be explained a bit more. The aesthetic appeared simple and not overcomplicated. I forgot to mention that the second person has also said that she thought the garment looked inspired by Japanese style, which is a good sign there too, and was ultimately what I was going for. Then we have the piling in the seams. The fabric can easily fall apart at the seams as I've shown in the previous slide, but it can be easily fixed with folding the ends and stitching them. What I can do is have a larger seam so that the ends aren't easily affected. Then we have the abrasion resistance, which is when the fabric rubs against the surface of the fabric itself, skin or other surfaces that it will inevitably touch. Like I mentioned also, the texture of the fabric is tough, and since pineapple fabric is very light and airy, it breathes very easily. The only problem is that it can get really rough if you wear it for too long, which is why I decided to design it as a jacket rather than a shirt itself. I think if I design for the third clothing piece with a combination of cotton or linen with the pineapple fabric, that can be a shirt in itself or like a skirt or something, so that it can be worn in itself and not over something else. So the next one is light fastness, which is the fading. The colors, they don't fade unless there's an abrupt change in temperature during washing. But this is only in the case of dyed pineapple fabric. With the natural pineapple fabric, if the fabric is left alone for very long periods of time, usually years or more than that, it can turn yellow with age and have some stains. So one way to kind of fix this is to soak the fabric in vinegar and brush the stains and yellowness with a soft brush and a small amount of mild detergent, and then wash that all off and leave it to dry. Now the garment washing and drying. The fabric is best washed by hand and with lukewarm water. Cold water is used for the pineapple fabric that has been dyed already. When drying, you have to set it on a thick towel instead of wringing and squeezing it, or even hanging it to dry, because as I mentioned, if you squeeze or twist the fabric, it can easily wrinkle and lose its smooth appearance. And if you hang it to dry, the weight of the water will be too heavy for the fabric itself, and then it can stretch and lose its appearance as well. So next is the cost estimating of the whole manufacturing process. So for this one, I took into account the length of the fabric and the embroidery as well. So this is the direct cost, the material cost, the pineapple fabric with the embroidery. So for the first design, it's approximately 1.5 meters, so it will be about 150 baht. For my other two designs, there might be buttons, buttonholes, etc., so that would take 15 baht. And the manufacturing cost per seam. The laying and marking, laying out the fabric, checking any problems or defects of the fabric, and then marking the garment patterns, pattern pieces will be about 24 baht per seam. The CNC if we were to use the CNC fabric cutting, the per linear inch of cut is approximately 2040 baht. 240 baht. And with the sewing and seaming, which is the indirect cost for the labor cost, it'll be about 65 baht per seam. And in total, this is about 494 baht. This is not accurate, so this is just an estimation of what the cost will turn out to be. What I wanted for the end product is to focus on market-oriented pricing, which is a competition-based strategy that compares similar products being offered on the market. Then I would set the price higher or lower than the competitors depending on how well my own product matches up to their level. So this is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.